We're
A 3
live.
and a 2 and a
Welcome in, everybody.
and a 3 and a 2 and a
What a day.
and a 2 and a 1 and a
Skinner, Wad, Sarcastic Grandpa.
Skinner wad.
Skinner, Wad, Scorched Earth. Scorched Earth, Haley, Chaos Angel.
He had caffeine and it was my fault.
No,
I take it. I square on the chin today, Deang.
I'm okay.
Square on the chin today. Yeah, you are just okay.
Ghost Hunter, what's going on, everybody? How we all doing? Jason, how was your weekend?
My weekend was fantastic. I don't even remember what I did. Oh, you know what we did?
Yeah.
Jen and I went and saw
A movie?
Hail Mary. Yeah.
I heard a lot about it.
So on Saturday, I was like, you know what sucks is that there's no good movie. Can you zoom in?
Yeah.
That there's no good movies because I really love going to the movies.
Yeah.
And she immediately came back and said, "Oh, what about that Ryan Gosling movie?" And I was like, "Oh, Hail Mary." I'd heard good things about it.
Was it about football
Yes.
or was it a Catholic movie?
It was totally about Catholicism and football.
Oh, okay.
What does
Hey, like a Hail Mary. And Hail Mary, I don't know.
Hail Mary full of grace?
Was it so good, though?
It was really good.
That's good to hear.
It is a fantastic movie.
Nice. Okay.
Really, really, really recommend.
Okay.
Highly recommend if you like The Martian. It's done by the same guy, Andy Weir,
Okay.
who did The Martian. So if you like The Martian, it is kind of along that same deal, except way better vibes.
Oh.
Just a totally different movie in terms of like how you leave feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good. Enjoyed. Much enjoyable.
Little Billy says, speaking of Jason's fault, it's Jason's fault we're in this mess for hiring Chris. That is
I can't even
true.
deny that.
Mo, what's going on?
I sat across a table from this man and said it would be a great idea to have him on board our team. That was me.
But what is a table but two friends sitting together
That's
conversing?
that what? Conversing?
No, conversing.
What is that?
It's having a conversation while commuting in your car.
That's not even a real word.
Jason, what color
You
are
don't
you
get
using?
to dodge making up words.
Is this
and
warm yellow one step?
Hey, let me just make sure that everybody pays attention over here.
I think
Pay no
it is
heed to the
warm.
man behind the curtain.
I think it is. Hey, T-Schmid, 84 months. Sup, nerds? Time for more Chris nonsense. False. I'm a very professional businessman today. I'm getting a lot done.
He likes to think so.
Warm yellow, huh, Jason?
This is warm yellow, Christopher.
Right out the bottle, huh?
Right out the bottle.
Right out the
Not
bottle.
even really. Maybe my brush is just a little bit damp,
Nice.
so that paint flows off of the brush nice. But this is just straight out the bottle.
Zowozi. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that name, but I like it. Thank you for that sub. Zowozi? T-Schmidt professional. That's right.
Professional what?
Professional anything. Paid. Leafy Decays, what's going on? We're picking
Beefy.
up with
What's going on?
Whiplash Willy, one of our new Texture Trainer Frameables coming out next week, April 13th.
Next week,
I think.
you'll be able to get your grimy little paws.
Yep, along with Rufus, Sidewinder, Willy. So get ready.
You said that like that was one person.
Sidewinder, Willy, and Rufus, and Whiplash Willy, 3 in total, along with our Expert Artist Acrylics, Series 2 coming out.
Are those happening maybe on the same day?
Those are happening literally on the same day.
And
So
am I
you could
painting
do
with
this.
Both of those on this model?
You are.
Well, I mean, the model is one of those things.
No, Jason's glazing and painterly paint time has gotten me inspired to whip the Expert Acrylics out again. Hopefully it's doing the same for you.
Careful. Careful. Where
Yes,
you
that's
careful
true.
Where you whip them out.
Little Billy
recommend.
says, real question, not a Chris insult. I'm working on some Night Lords using one step. Jason, what would you recommend at the final highlight if I use dark blue, black, and blue one step for the initial workup?
Dark
Great
blue,
question.
black, and blue one step for the initial workup, and then
Yeah.
you want to highlight?
Yes, final highlight. Ooh. Good question, little Billy, even though that hurts me to say.
I think something like sky blue,
Oh,
right?
okay.
You could technically maybe move to white blue. Depends on how bright the blue got on the underpaint. So that's the only question I would have.
Lapton Live, you're going to present a mini for the first time for competition in 2 weeks. Nice.
Awesome.
I have a few empty spaces on my mini and was considered freehanding or using decals. Is one considered better than the other? Ooh, for mini competitions.
Wow. Great question. So decals are a hobby standard. So there's nothing I think that. How do I put this? Decals, by their very nature, are not frowned upon or should not be frowned upon by judges in competition. They open up a lot of opportunity to get docked points by judges in competition because, a decal gives a different sheen. If you're good at them, then they're great. If you're mediocre at them, they probably aren't so great. And if you've never really spent time doing them before, don't do them. Because typically the decals, depending on the type of transfer that it is, will leave a sheen and it has like a border around it where you cut the decal and you can see that it's a decal. If you're good at matte varnishing, laying them flat, making sure that it looks like you painted it on, because the goal of a decal is to make it look like it was hand painted. And that's what you have to do. I can't see any transition. I can't be able to see the lip of the decal if some of them are thicker and you can see that you applied it on. Looks like a sticker. Make sure you're not using that kind of stuff. So that's the only twist, right? So while I say that, no, I shouldn't think that they would cause anybody to look or frown upon your model. It's that, it's tough to apply. But if you're good at it, then yeah. And I always weather them. I put the decal on and then I do the weathering on the model afterwards so that the decal includes the weathering. Chip the decal, paint the decal edges so that it has chipping on the lettering if you're doing that on other parts of the model. Don't leave the decal. I saw somebody and it was amazing to me. Very, very talented and highly regarded painter in our industry. Did a model recently and I think it was an Ultramarines Dreadnought and then put decals on it. And then weathered it, but didn't weather the decals. So the decals were all fresh and clean and new looking, but the whole model was weathered like battle worn. Big mistake. You would get docked for that. If I were judging, you would get docked for that because that's not how weathering happens. Weathering doesn't miraculously miss parts of the model. It misses parts of the model for a reason, but you wouldn't have weathering on a shoulder, but for some reason the Ultramarine logo isn't weathered at all. So just be careful with decals because depending on how you apply them and where you apply them in the process, they can leave you open to that type of comment. Like, hey, why wasn't this finished? You're like, well, it is. It's a decal. It's done. Well, no, you got to treat it like you painted it and weather it and filter it and highlight it. A lot of people will highlight the decal because the decal is just a flat color. It never has the highlight of the model. So if you put a decal on a Space Marine shoulder pad and the Space Marine shoulder pad is highlighted up top, you have to then go in and paint over the decal to highlight it where the highlight would be on the model. That's a thing people don't ever take into account. The emblems, the star that you would put on a Sherman tank, right, is just a white star. It doesn't have any shading or highlight to it because it's just a white single color print on a transfer sheet. So when you put it on the model, you have to do all the shading and weathering and everything to make it look like it's on a three-dimensional surface. So just remember all that, and if you can, they're amazing. Huh. That's why I don't use them, because by the time you do all the things you need to do to make a decal look good, you could have freehanded it. But for some people, they're not good at freehanding. They can't do the shapes and get the straight and lines and things like that, so I totally understand.
Valkiv says, are expert acrylics like a pure pigment paint?
Yes. Are they light? Everything that Monument Hobbies makes is a pure pigment paint. We only use the purest of pigments. Now, single pigments, not every color can be done as a single pigment. A lot of colors out there are hues, so there just isn't a pigment to make. There's a synthetic pigment that you can probably use for every color under the sun, but they don't all go in aqueous suspensions correctly. So no, you can't always do the color you want as a single pigment. A lot of the expert acrylic, but over half of the expert acrylic line is single pigment, and there are some mixed hues in there too. But the thing with Pro-Acryl paint in general, whether it's our liquid or our expert acrylics, is that every paint you buy will be based on the pure pigment hue that the color is supposed to be. So they will always mix like you want them to and everything. So you don't have to worry about all that. All of our paints are technically pure pigment paints and are of the highest quality in any art supply world that you will find.
And D-Fresh says, could I use gloss varnish before using Noosh to keep it from staining the raised areas as I wipe it away?
it will help the paint move more, depending on the. Excuse you.
Thank you.
Excuse you. Bless you. Excuse you. Right while I'm
Excuse
talking.
you.
I guess the issue is more about the ratio of newsh to pigment. The more newsh, the less of the pigment stains as quickly. So if you want to make sure you don't get more of the tint of the hue on top of the model on the high spots or whatever, gloss varnish can help because it helps the paint slide around a little bit easier on the model. But more newsh in the mix is really the key.
Jerpstick says, what color would you use to highlight warm brown?
Light warm brown?
Oh. Light umber?
No, generally what I do is I take something like a pale yellow and mix it into warm brown and make my own color. If you want something that's just straight out of the line, then I would pick something along the lines of probably orange brown works really, really well if you want to go into the more warm yellowy highlights. Khaki can work really well. The green brown can work well if you don't want. Caramel brown can work well. Any of the browns will work great as long as you keep your highlights thin. And remember, my way of layering is you're always doing a mix of the highlight color and the base color it's going over first. So now, Mo, why go back up? Because Mo said, I say, bah.
Oh,
Why?
because I said, can we, if he orders all 3 Frameables, can we also buy the One Step to save on shipping? And I said, no, because One Step doesn't come out till late May.
Oh.
You could wait to buy the Frameables, or you just buy the Frameables and get the One Step when it comes out for real.
And Double T says he's trolling my mom in the car.
Because Double T says, tell Mama T to order me whatever I want for off the Monument Hobby site for my B-Day. Mama T, do this. Make your son, daughter proud. Double T.
Mama T.
Mama T.
Mama T, I wanna have a very serious conversation with you here.
Oh.
While I support your son's thrill of the hobby,
Nice.
I do also support good parenting. And is he driving or are you driving is my next question.
Hopefully somebody else that's not typing is driving.
If he's driving, then I would say yes, buy him what he wants from the site. If, on the other hand, you were driving, smack him with your free hand.
Oh, wow.
Good parenting. Double T, I'm sorry, but you said she was driving after I already told her to smack you.
Oh.
So, there you go. And as Mama T, as you smack him, I want you to say these words. Lean in close. I want you to say, you'll get exactly what I tell you you'll get. No more, no less. And you'll like it. There you go.
Double T, hopefully you have Pro Acryl on your list.
There you go.
Hopefully.
That's a little parenting lesson for the rest of you out there.
Good.
And you'll like it.
And you'll like it. Doghouse says...
That sounds like your mom, the way she used to drive. And you'll like it.
Speaking of using varnish, when will the matte spray can be back in stock? And B, is there a good video showing how to airbrush varnish? Not directly on answer B. Answer A.
Next couple of weeks, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
They're very imminent. We've had shipping delays, so it really sucks. But, hopefully by the end of this month, it's the world and shipping is been in such a tumult of late that we're kind of like, we just water off a duck's back every email we get lately.
Tell your man Kyle, Travel Cedric, in customer service that he's awesome. Kyle is good. He's good people.
Kyle is our sales director. So you got to speak to the big man. The big man.
The big honcho.
The head honcho of sales. He thought that your question was worthy enough. Thank you for that. I saw somebody earlier say that, say something bad about me, but good about our fulfillment team.
Who's that? I'm looking.
It was up there before. It says, it's amazing that your fulfillment team can be so great, even when Jason has them do things like that. I don't know what they were talking about.
I didn't see that comment.
It was up above. I don't remember.
No.
Microsol and Microset can make decals easy to put on. They do not make decals easy to make look good. They're two totally different things there.
Oh, here, the fulfillment team always kicks butt, even when Jason does stuff like that to them.
What did I do?
What'd you do, Jason?
To the fulfillment team? I only ever tell them how great they're doing.
And then he makes good stuff, and then all of you order it.
I do actually cause the fulfillment team problems by making such great product.
There you go. Then they got to put the stuff in there.
Yeah. Video for varnish? No, I haven't ever really done a video specific for varnish, just like airbrushing anything else. It literally is. It's don't let a lot of liquid build up on the model whenever you're varnishing. It's tougher when you're varnishing a clear paint, which is what, or when you're spraying a clear paint, which is what varnish is, because you can't immediately see the effect it's having on the model. So there's a propensity to overload the surface with too much wetness. So what you're looking for is to hold the model in a way that you can see where the wetness is hitting, right? So as I'm holding the model and spraying, I'm holding it in a way that the light reflecting shows me where the spray is turning the model wet, and I keep moving along that way to where I can see the shine I'm adding, and then I can just keep the thin layer with the shine because you can't see color, right? So that does throw a lot of people off. They might build up too much varnish in an area because they can't see, what they're doing. And if it starts to pool, that's where you start having problems with varnish. It can turn into that kind of hazy white in the recesses if you build up a lot of it because it's not curing. So you have to be very careful. Thin, just like everything else that you paint with in the airbrush, thin and multiple layers. Do a thin coat where you don't cover very well, and then another thin coat that closes that up, and then maybe a last thin coat once that's dried to make sure that you get full coverage.
Jason, I've got a question, and I think with the
if you're nice, Christopher, I might answer your question.
I think I'm a nice person today.
You were very nice. He got me a pink drink.
I did get you a pink drink.
When you ordered it, did they laugh at you?
No.
Okay.
I did it mobile, faceless. So
faceless.
I just went in, I grabbed it, I went out.
Oh, okay. Head down?
Head down.
Cap on?
Cap on.
Okay, gotcha. Good.
Overcoat.
Good job. Good job. Cheers for my pink drink. Very weird. It's kind of fuzzy inside.
It's a pink drink. Jason, why are our expert acrylics good for miniature painting? What makes ours in particular? Like, what makes an expert acrylic or a heavy body so good for miniature painting?
Well, in general, I would say there's not a whole lot that makes heavy bodies good, other than they all share one thing, that a good artist acrylic, high-grade artist acrylic, will have the most pigment per volume of paint you put on the model of anything. So vibrancy is easy to maintain. The problem is that the heavy body paints out on the market for an artist standpoint are not meant to go on three-dimensional surfaces that have tight detail like our miniatures do. It's all scale, right? Artist acrylics come in big tubes, meant to paint on large canvases. In a lot of places that you use heavy-bodied acrylics, the idea of them, how do we say this? Historically, acrylic paints, nowadays not so much true. A lot of people paint with acrylics and do great stuff. But historically, acrylics were frowned upon in the fine art world because they weren't oils. It felt like in order to be a master and taken seriously, you painted with oils. Now, we're talking decades ago, right? And then over time, as acrylics got better and better and better and better and better, they start to compete with oils as far as what the final product can look like, but not in the usage of them. And so there is still an argument to be made about oils allow you more flexibility because you can blend them on the canvas days, weeks, months, years after you've put them on. And so there's always going to be that side of the argument. Acrylics cure very quickly. You can't then re-wet them and move them around and blend with them. You got to do all your work at the time you're working and then move on to another part. So it's two different paint styles and techniques in question, as well as two different formulas of color. The ability to keep them vibrant is very similar in both because of the amount of pigment that you can lay when you're not diluting it in an aqueous suspension like our liquid acrylics. So good for painting, not so great for small details because they are thicker paints. And so by the time most heavy-bodied acrylics you go and use them for miniature, you've worked with them so much on the palette to thin them down that you should have just picked a good liquid acrylic like Pro Acryl. Because what Pro Acryl is basically, it's fundamentally the same as our expert acrylics, just already diluted for use on three-dimensional surfaces in small scale. And so you're getting the same pigment. We use the exact same pigments in the expert line that we do in Pro Acryl. The highest grade pigments you can buy. And so it really is that we've just done all the work of dilution for you in the bottled Pro Acryl. Now, why then do we come out with expert acrylics? Because the expert acrylics will allow you, the way we formulated them, they lay flatter, so you don't have to thin them down as much, so you don't spend a lot of time on the palette. You just simply take a wet brush, grab some paint, paint it on the model. That's what we're doing here. And you can, if you zoom in super close, you can see like all of this has been done with the expert acrylic. Going even closer. And there's no texture there that isn't painted on, right? There's no raised surfaces. Everything allows me to paint the way I want to. It doesn't give you anything you don't want. So the ability to use the expert acrylics now with ours has been reduced to where you can use it almost like you do the liquid acrylics. But there are some colors that we can do better with in a non-diluted formula, right? So things like Nicolazo yellow, just a paint that really needs to be in the expert acrylic line. A great color, harder and harder to do as a liquid acrylic and get it to act correctly. So there's some things that we can do in the paste line that we can't do in the liquid line, which is great. Other than that, they lay pretty flat. Meaning that they don't cover up your details. You can paint them over chainmail on small miniatures and not lose the effect. And then they also don't leave a lot of texture, which is great, because they kind of fight what a heavy body really wants to be. A heavy body acrylic is meant to leave more texture so that your canvas, I can't say feels like an oil, because it will never feel like an oil. Oils can be built up and peak and show your brush stroke more. So if you're using tight brush strokes with a big filbert or some sort of a larger brush, then you'll see the wispy stroke of your brush in it, and that gives the painting personality. Acrylics always have had a hard time doing that, because when they cure, they lay flat, so they take away all the texture. So you wind up adding a medium, like a gel medium, to it, which makes it peak and stand and have more body. And we don't have any of that. We've actually subtracted all of what it does naturally so that it lays smooth and flat and does not show your brush strokes. And has a matte finish too, so it's everything that you want. A slightly less matte finish than the liquid acrylics, because we want to maintain the vibrancy with them. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of jargon to be able to say that we really wanted to build these so that you could use them for miniatures, but also have the flexibility to use them for other things too. Things like when we're painting backgrounds on this guy, right? They just do wonders for giving you the texture and the ability to paint more artistically, I think. And then you can use them on canvases, anything you want.
Cool.
I wouldn't paint your house with them, though.
Thank you. Question: which Pro Acrylic paints are single pigment paints? I've been told I should up my saturation and would like to use single pigment paints to mix up saturation.
So there's a couple things at play here. If you're, how do I put this? Multiple pigments does not mean desaturated color. In a lot of cases, vibrancy out of your color will be taken away if there are too many pigments in it, and those pigments are not necessarily the pigments you need to make the color. And this is going to sound weird, because if you go to Home Depot, and I say this all the time, if you go to Home Depot and you take something from your house, like you take this tube of paint, and you take it to Home Depot, and they color scan it and then come up with a hex code and put it in their machine and mix paint, they'll give you a paint that's this color, right?
Yeah.
But what I can guarantee you, right, is that where phthalo turquoise on this one has 3 pigments in it as a hue, right, that they will give you a paint that probably has like 8 in it. And the reality is that the machine is meant to create color that is spot on to what the code you entered in is, and not, right, the simplest combination of pigments that could get you that color, because they don't have every pigment to pull from in that machine.
Gotcha.
And so that becomes the biggest issue, is you might get a paint that has more pigment than is needed to make that color. That's a good color. It will look good, but when you start mixing it, highlighting it, shading it, it desaturates because it has way too much pigment in it. And depending on which pigments are in there, probably has an affinity to lean into a color that you don't really want in it anyway. What single pigment colors will do is provide you with the opportunity to maintain vibrancy, because there's only one pigment color there. But remember, a lot of times they're very semi-transparent or translucent. They're not very opaque. And so when you add them in, you're not going to gain that opacity. So a lot of times when we're glazing, that's where you start to kind of glaze your vibrancy into things. And you got to be careful. So how do I put this? What colors are single pigment? The transparent line is great for that. You can use all the transparents. Brown is the only one that isn't single pigment. All the other transparents are single pigment paint, so you can add them in. If you go and watch like Kenny at Next Level Painting, he will use all the transparents to add into other colors. He uses transparent black to put into coal black to make it blacker. Great. Transparent blue into blue to make it bluer. Transparent red into magenta to make it hot pink. There's all sorts of ways to gain vibrancy by doing that. Other things like ultramarine blue, bismuth yellow, good gosh, pyro red, obviously both titanium white, coal black, satin black. You have a tremendous amount of our palette that are single pigment, but white won't make your color more vibrant. Black won't make your color more vibrant, right? The darker single pigment colors won't make your color more vibrant, right? So that's where I want to make sure your head is clear. You still have to understand color mixing. You don't just get vibrancy from putting a single pigment paint into another color. Bright colors is really where you're talking about that. And if you're trying to add vibrancy, then a lot of what you can do is alter your technique. Underpainting a little bit of a brighter color like white. You know, the thing that I talk about with this red cloak that you guys have seen, right? We did this airbrushing. And so you can get a really vibrant red by just altering your method of painting. This vibrant red was done, there's no brush painting, this is all airbrush. This vibrant red was done with a dark purple, red oxide, and then pale yellow zenithal, or bright pale yellow zenithal on it, right? And so the areas where the bright pale yellow is across all of the tops of the folds, top of the head, top of the shoulders, right? The upper layers, right? Because I did a pretty solid zenithal job on there. And then when you then filter bold pyro red very thin over the top of that, and I built up 3 layers of thin pyro red, then you get the best red you'll ever see, right? I mean, that red is super duper vibrant, super simple to apply, but it was all about technique. I didn't add anything to it, right? I just made sure that I shot it over a warm yellow base that also had a lot of vibrancy and value, brightness to it. If I'd have done it over white, I would not have gotten this. I needed to use bright pale yellow. Right. Or pale yellow, something that is in the warmer spectrum of color, but also has a high value, so that it gives me brightness where I want, shadow where I want it, but it allows the red to really pop, because the first layer of red I put over this, and I keep threatening that we'll do one of these on stream, but I need to build the model, is that the first layer of red that you put on very thin over the yellow turns into hot pink. It doesn't even look red. It's very scary as a technique, because you put it on, you go, not the color I wanted. Over the purple and over the red that we're still here in the shadows, it starts to become red. But on the highlights, it's scary because it's a pink and it doesn't look right. The next layer you put on solidifies the red in the shadows, starts moving out of the pink into red, and then the final red that you put on the highlights really bolsters it and makes it freaking red. And these are some of the best reds you can get. But it wasn't about having to add anything. So I want to make sure everybody understands, if you're the type of person who glazes in multiple layers to get your colors on your model, you could be your own worst enemy, because glazing 15, 20 layers can provide very smooth blends, but it also desaturates colors usually pretty badly, right? You'll get more of like that realistic military feel to your models. And I see tons of models done this way, and I can point them out and I can tell people exactly what the problem is. Hey, you glazed too many layers on it. They go, how do you know that? Right. You know, and I'm like, well, you can tell that your color is so desaturated. You put a lot of layers trying to build it up, but you're putting more and more layers on and thinning them way, 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 way down, and you're never reaching full vibrancy. If you wanted full vibrancy of the color, paint the color opaque, or as close to opaque as you can, and give it an undertone of something bright. If it's a bright color like red or yellow, do pale yellow and then put yellow over the top as opaque as you can, because yellow is a semi-transparent pigment anyway. And then you're going to get the best yellow you've ever painted in 2 steps, right? But sometimes it takes understanding what color you paint as a underpainted color first, or a sketch color, so that you can get that back out of it. You know, we just did this so that we could get this kind of beat up yellow look by doing black, gray, and white, right? So that's what I wanted to show here, is the power of the one-step paints to still give you vibrancy over the top of gray and white and black, right? Pop in real close, because you'll notice that the yellow even did a great job over the black. Right, still just gives us a dirty yellow base.
Yep.
Right, doesn't green out too bad. but still gives us a brighter yellow up over the top where that white was, and we get the mid-tone yellow over the grays. So the one step inherits a lot of that. It's meant as a filter color, right? The contrast style paint, that's what it does. But that's underpainting the same way we did the red, and we'll do some more on these red cloths, and I can show it off. But that's really how I prefer to have people add vibrancy, rather than trying to tell you there's some trick in your paint that will do it. Because while it can, I can take magenta, add transparent red to it, and get a really vibrant pink. It's still the way you apply it that maintains vibrancy, not the color the way it looks on the palette. That's the big thing I'm trying to get across here, right? Because if people are looking at your model in maybe a competition or in a setting where, you know, like in our challenge where you're getting feedback on it, and they're saying, hey, you need to boost your vibrancy. I just want to make sure that I'm clear that I don't think you can just change the color and boost your vibrancy. You may need to also adjust your technique to get that vibrancy to transfer from the palette to the model.
Right.
That was a lot of words to come up with a very short answer, but you'll learn hanging out. You can back out a little bit. Yep. You'll learn dealing with me that sometimes my answers seem wordy and complex because I need to know more about the front side of the situation. And so I'm trying to encapsulate the things I'm hearing and some of the pitfalls that I hear people ask in their questions without necessarily knowing it. I don't know how you paint. I don't know what the circumstance you're getting that feedback in was, but I just want to make sure I cover all the bases. So,
Melta, thank you so much for that raid. We appreciate it.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome in, Raiders.
Hello. Trying to wrap your head around what you're talking about vibrancy, and something I think I learned in a class at Decal. If you shift over one color brighter on the color wheel, would it make it more vibrant? If you shift over two colors, then you're muddying it? Are we talking about mixing, Avian? Glazing, mixing, using in place of? Because depending on how you go on the color wheel, you can go from a dark color like what you would call blue into magenta on the color wheel, and you get brighter, right? So I'm not sure what you're talking about. Because you mix complementaries to get shades, right? Green and red. That type of stuff.
Yes, mixing.
Mixing. So if you take a color and you mix one color over, you're asking, will that make it more vibrant? I mean, you're getting a different color. So all things considered, if you're mixing base hues like our CMYK, mixing with like process yellow, process cyan, process magenta, then as you mix, you don't gain or lose vibrancy. Vibrancy is the color. So if you get two colors that mix to give you a third color, that third color should be as vibrant as it can be based on the quality of pigment that you're mixing together. Does that make sense? So again, vibrancy is only taken away through desaturation. So a pigment can only be as saturated as 100% of that pigment can be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can't make it more saturated.
Right.
You can make a different color that gives you better saturation on the model for the hue that you were looking for. So I could use, that's what I was talking about with like magenta. If I take our magenta, right, here, let's just play around. You guys okay to play around?
Yeah.
I think this is really, really good talk, because these are the things that hang a lot of people up. I don't have anywhere to put this. I'll just throw it on top of there. Let's see, I have...
Essentially, what are you thinking about right now, Jason? How would you describe what you're doing here?
Okay, well, let me just take some magenta and I'll talk you through it.
Yeah.
Okay, because the idea here is vibrancy. Because we just got done with the MAA, and when you went, if you were at our booth at Adepticon, you had the ability to talk to lots of different painters, get lots of feedback on your painting, and if vibrancy comes up, I want to make sure that everybody understands what that means, because you have value, right? And value is brightness, okay? So value is not shown on the color wheel. It is. It's like one consistent value. It's at 100% saturation, I guess, is what they're talking about. The natural color wheel doesn't show you value. Let me grab something like this, okay? Right, so the creative color wheel here, right, this shows value. This shows maybe yellow-orange at 100% saturation. This is the pigment. This is orange, right? So if I go like this, right, and I say orange at pure saturation, pure color, it says, right? Then we start adding white to it, and we eventually get to here. This is higher value because white is the highest value color. So if you add white, you're going to increase the value, but what are you doing? You're desaturating the color, right? Because that's what white does. As a neutral, same thing with black, right? So if we turn around and we go to pure color orange, right, on the color wheel, then you add black and it grays out. So you have less value here. It's a darker color. You also have less vibrancy or saturation, right? I think that really what we ought to talk about is saturation. We all use the word vibrant, but it is such an, what's the right word? It's ambiguous term, right? We really want to talk about saturation of color, right? And so vibrancy is typically an amalgam of value, saturation, and contrast on the model, right? Is like, how do your volumes come alive and how do your colors relate? And are they peaking at higher enough saturation where I want to see that color versus maybe too high or too desaturated in areas? Like maybe you want a purple shadow to read on flesh, but you haven't used a saturated enough purple. And so it's very dim and it doesn't perform the act that you wanted it to. And so people are seeing it, but they're seeing that it's kind of not performing the job that they want it to. And so the cheeks aren't red enough, the shadows aren't blue enough, whatever it is, right? Maybe you're painting Spider-Man and the reds don't pop and the blues don't pop, whatever it is. That's just a matter of saturation and value. And that equals vibrancy overall, right? So hopefully, these types of things talk about that, is that you have value, right? And if you darken a color, you're going to lose value. If you brighten a color, you're going to lose value, right? Or you're going to gain value here, right? But in both cases, you lose saturation. So desaturated to the point of almost white, desaturated to the point of like a gray here, right? When you tint, tone, and shade. So that's that aspect of painting. So when somebody asks, if you move over a color left or right, do you become more or less saturated? I mean, it depends. It's going to be the saturation it is, right? If I move from red to orange red, is that more or less vibrant? I don't know. No. That's only a question for the person and what you were trying to pull off. Is violet more saturated than red to you? That's not a question you can ask. Or vibrant? I don't know. In terms of value, the red is going to be a brighter color overall than the violet because you're moving over here towards blue and cyan, right? And you're going to lose a lot of value in this range, right? They're just not as high a brightness to start with. So that's why I say that word is a little cumbersome in terms of how we talk. But when you couple it with saturation, I think that's really what we're talking about, is that you need, when I hear people say they need more vibrancy, people are being told they need more saturation of color on the model for how they've been trying to use that color, right? So like Hulk's skin.
Yeah.
Right? I don't paint Hulk's skin like I paint the side of tanks. I put more vibrancy on Hulk because it's a comic book character with green skin, as opposed to the way I treat vibrancy and value on the side of a green tank. Not just are the colors maybe different, but you can see the difference in the way that I've treated value and saturation on Hulk, right? Where we have a more saturated view of coloring on him than we do on this tank. Because the tank would never appear in such a saturated environment where those values and vibrancy were so super high as a comic book character, right? So that's the way I think in terms of showing you the difference there. Does that make sense? These are still, I don't know, for the colors they're still fairly high saturation, right? Because the color of faded green is still saturated. It's at a very high saturation here. I didn't dim it down or anything. It's just not a very, vibrant color, if you want to use the term, right? The camo greens are not vibrant colors. They're not the kind of thing you wear to the ball. If you want to, look good on the disco floor, you don't wear camo green because it's not a very spicy color. Bright yellow green is a very spicy color. So you could be talking about the choice of color on the model, right? Had Hulk turned out looking like this and somebody said, oh, you need more vibrancy on Hulk. Maybe it was really a color choice. I needed more saturation. I needed a more saturated green. I needed to have less of my shadow take over the model and more highlight, and then work that highlight to peak in brightness, right, to get what they were looking for versus this. Both of these are very valid paint jobs in their own way, It's just what are you going for in your story, and that's where people start to say those things. So that's, again, it's why I talk about, I don't know that a single pigment paint helps you. There's a misnomer in the world of miniature art that for some reason single pigment is the way to go. Single pigment paint gives you the highest amount of saturation of that color pigment that you will ever get, right? But how you use it is what maintains saturation on the model. I can glaze with a very bright single pigment bismuth yellow like ours, right? I can put it to work as a glaze over brown to where you get very little vibrancy out of it at all, right? So think in terms of what we're talking about language-wise. On the one hand, somebody's critiquing your model saying you need more vibrancy. What they're meaning is that what I think most times people are meaning is you need to choose more saturated colors and apply them in a method that does not lose saturation as you apply it to the model, okay? And then you need to get specific in your questions back and say, what kind of saturation should I be looking for? Something that brings more contrast or just more hue and color to the space, right? Because a lot of people critiquing your model don't know the language they're trying to convey, and a lot of times they just want to see more of everything. They want to see something that is more intense and visually pleasing to look at. And in our world, that's built by contrast and value, meaning brighter and then more distinguishing volumes created by your brightness and darkness gap, let's call it. Because if I go super dark and super bright and I handle all my midtones correctly, I get the most vibrant model possible, right? Because I go to a very bright color on whatever my highlight is, but I also have a very dark desaturated color in my shadow. And then it's really just putting together midtones that tie them together so they don't look like it's, you know, a pinstripe suit, black and white. Right? Now, I was going to show this off. Okay. Let's take our model. So I'm going to just put out a little bit of transparent red and magenta. This is an ode to Jen. Jen loves this color combo, by the way. So if we were to just put magenta on this cloak, and I'm just going to make the magenta semi-opaque, right? I'm not going to add a lot of water to it, right? So I still have quite a bit of opacity, right? And we'll put it on the cloak here. It'll still inherit some of the shadow on here. But it's not like a glaze, right? This is a fairly opaque layer of paint.
Thank you so much, Paint Liquor, for that sub. 48 months around the corner.
Yeah. Get that on there. And you see that for the paint pigment color, I have good vibrancy, right? But I'm using a color that is kind of a pastel pink, right? Not quite pastel. It's not that desaturated. But it does have white in it. So it will look a little bit more like a pastel color because that's the effect that the white pigment has in there. It has a better opacity than magenta should have because magenta is a notoriously see-through color. So in order to get over that, we add a little bit of white in the mix, and boom, you have a color that covers very well, gives you a nice vibrancy. But let's say on your model, you wanted something that had more punch than that. Well, you can very easily come in with like a transparent red. I'm probably going to move so fast. This is going to wet blend a little bit. Won't be the worst thing in the world. Right? Boom. Over that magenta, this is going to have a tremendous effect. But it also changes the hue. So you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what is it that I'm really looking for here? Because this, look at that. With just a really quick glaze over that magenta, look at what the red is doing. See the difference between the two? This is a more vibrant color, right? But what we've done is we've made a color that is more vibrant because it's warmer. That's what's giving it vibrancy. And the saturation is the same on both of these, really, right? I guess not. If you were relating this up to like a true, single pigment magenta, it's desaturated off of that because of the white. But for what the color is and how you pick it out of the bottle, it's as saturated as it's going to get. It's never going to be more saturated than that. But I am putting a very saturated single pigment color over it in the transparent red, and now I'm creating a second color, which is, bright hot pink. And by creating the bright hot pink, I'm getting a more vibrant color out of that. Make sense? So there's a way you could use that. If this color was not giving you the punch you needed, then you can amp it up with a single pigment glaze over the top, right? Because the single pigment is going to help when glazing or mixing because it doesn't desaturate. It doesn't have any white or black or gray or any other pigments in it that are going to change in a negative space the color you mix it with. It is going to change the color. Then you just need to pick the single pigment paint that will change it using the color wheel into something that is more vibrant to your liking, right? Maybe to you, orange is not vibrant enough, but yellow orange is. Well, then take your orange and put transparent yellow in it to get a yellow orange, and it will be a more vibrant color as a different color, and the single pigment doesn't change the saturation of it. So that's where those tend to tie together. And this, I think, is a really great representation of that, because you have the magenta that has white in it that will look more desaturated up against when you glaze the single pigment red over the top. I hope that helps.
I mean,
make some sense.
Yeah. Little Billy says, Chris, please tell Jason I messaged him on Discord, and I said, hell no. He'll do that. Little Billy. Jason, what do I call that?
What do you call what?
What do I call that bit? Because I was listening. I was trying to absorb it.
Oh.
Right.
And I mean, what we're talking about, it's tough, right? Because it's a language thing, and everybody can argue language.
Saturation and vibrancy, I feel like those are two different things.
It's like value, saturation, and vibrancy. To me, value plus saturation equals vibrancy, because vibrant colors are going to be very subjective.
Yeah.
Because when you say that's a very vibrant black, what do you mean?
Yeah, I see, because you're right. That is not a scientific thing. That's not a vibrant color. It's just vibrant to me.
Right. That's where we get lost with that term vibrancy. There's probably a specific definition that I'm unaware of that would lack it into some sort of color space. But for me, saturation and value are usually where you're talking about, right? Because a vibrant black would be a very low value, but a very high saturation of black. Satin black is more vibrant than coal black, because coal black is hyper matte and looks gray, whereas satin black has a satin sheen to it, which makes it appear darker black. So if you were talking in the world of black, it's that. Why does satin black look like it is a darker value? It's because it's satin and not matte. When you add a matte finish to something and it diffuses light like that, it kind of grays out and desaturates the color.
Yeah.
Right? Why some of our colors are less matte than others is because if we added more matte to make them the same matte as other colors in the line, it would desaturate the color to not be what I want.
Okay.
So the nice thing about Monument Hobbies is we make every paint specifically for how we want that particular color to work. We don't just say, here's the formula, and then throw every pigment into the formula, right? We make every color based on how that color needs to act. So there'll be a range of matte finish to each color. They feel very consistent, but the reason for that is because the vibrancy, the way we think about vibrancy, which is that color is as close to full saturation as I can keep it for the color I had in mind. It doesn't mean that a color like yellow ochre is going to be the most saturated yellow ochre you've ever seen. It's the color we wanted at the highest saturation possible for the value that we wanted this color to represent. Make sense? So there's a lot that goes in. So I think value and saturation leads you to vibrancy, because ultra high value colors, meaning very high brightness colors, mixed with very high saturation in them, begin to just be clown suit vibrant. They're just like, what? Bismuth yellow, what? But ultramarine blue, same thing.
Is there a clip going over non-metallic gold starting with dark yellow green? I tried to follow the process by rewatching. Yeah, actually, we actually have
a clip, but it's in a lot of the videos we do. Well, that's one of my favorites.
Well, yeah. Also, you could watch the OG one right here. Doing the non-metallic gold workup. This will help you.
Which one, on the Antonio LT grade?
Yeah, because you have a lot of dark yellow green in that one. It might help
That
you.
one I use purples and also oranges and other stuff too, though.
Yeah.
Painting bites. Yeah, if we missed it, put it up here.
Yep.
Remember, sometimes when I get on a roll, you'll have to ask again. The system on Twitch and everything is hard to capture some of them. If Chris and
that's
I
what
miss
I
it,
was typing earlier. I
don't feel bad. We're not doing it on purpose. But yeah, post your question again. We want to make sure we get to as much as we can.
I don't want to stop the train.
When I get on a roll, he doesn't
when the
want
train
to
is going,
so that means we lose.
I always say, just always retype your questions and I'll get to it. Let me go back up.
What's your orc skin go-to mix, please? Base to mid to highlight. Oh, just for regular orcs?
Yeah, what do you do? That's a good question.
I do so many different things with orcs. I'm always trying something new.
What's a classic green orc?
I like what I did with Hulk, actually. Right?
Yeah. That's a cool green.
Is that, doing on him we use dark blue as the base tone because he has purple pants. Normally I would use purple, but because Hulk has purple pants, I didn't want purple on everything, so I used dark blue. So he starts with dark blue and then goes into dark yellow green, bright yellow green, and then a little bit of pale yellow in the bright. If you zoom in real close, you'll see a little bit of the pale yellow and the bright yellow green to get the highest highlights on the striations of the muscles and veins and things like that. Because bright yellow green is a very transparent color, so adding a little bit of pale yellow into it really keeps it on hue and focus, but then lets you put in those brighter highlights where you want. That's good. I like that. Now, if you did this and you wanted your goblins were like this and you like this for your goblins, but you wanted your orcs to be a little bit darker, then you could then glaze the either the yellow green or probably the dark yellow green back over the top of this. Filter the dark yellow green back over the top. You keep it really nice and green, but you'd be able to darken some of your units up. So if you're one of those that thinks orcs are darker skinned than goblins, I'm right there with you. So you could do that too. Painty Bite said, is using a wet palette actually worse over a glass palette like you use? I've been trying to use your wet palette, but it seems I have issues with your grainy textures on your models after thinning, or should I use no water at all? Great question. This is always a tough one to answer because there's a lot of things at play here. The thing that generally creates grainy texture is too much moisture in your paint when applying it to the model. And so the wet palette can be a culprit because the wet palette is constantly adding moisture to your paint, so it can overwet your paint, which means now the paint on your brush is too thin. And if you're not wicking it off, right? Like if I go on here and let's just turn this magenta into some crazy thin glaze, right? So if I go over here and I turn it into a very watery glaze to where I can glaze my magenta back over the top of this, right? It's like the worst fingernail color, probably the best fingernail color if Jen's watching, right? But very, very thin. And using my hair on my thumb here as an example, you'll notice how pigment kind of pools around the little hair follicles there, so you get this very spotty look of color. That's what's happening on the surface of your model if your paint is too wet. So you're trying to pull color onto the model, and the pigment is clumping wherever it sees a little bit of a low spot or a detail or whatever else, and you're getting all of your pigment floating there because the way that water is with that high surface tension is that it's pulling all the pigment into little droplets as it hits stuff, and so you wind up getting this spotty texture. Right? It's not just because of the hair on my hand, it's just because it's too wet. So that's why whenever I'm glazing, you see me use my thumb palette and I take a lot off, take most of the moisture off on there, and then grab the model we had, right? And then you'll notice that when I apply it, right, well, it's going to look crappy on this one because it's got all sorts of oil on this paint job. But now it doesn't bead up. It's going to give me a much smoother application at very thin when you're glazing, and it'll keep the chalkiness at bay. Because now the pigment just stays where you put it. It doesn't pile up weird or float around on the model's surface. Right? So that's the thing. It feels like a waste because you're taking what feels like 80% of the paint off over here, but you still have paint that works over here. Right? You would think that I hit my thumb enough to take off all the paint, but I still have a lot of paint on this brush. Oops, sorry. I still have a lot of paint on this brush. Like I can literally keep, getting paint off this brush just using this as a way to show you. I can still get a lot of color off this brush. Even though I came over here and I keep knocking off more, I can continue to come over here and glaze very thinly. And this will never be chalky. Because as long as I control how I'm applying it, I can do something like this and very quickly get a very smooth application of that magenta on there, and that'll never be chalky. Because there's no place for the color to build up. You want even when your colors are super thin, you want them to act like paint that hasn't been thinned, meaning that when you make a brush stroke, the paint stays right in that brush stroke. If your paint is so thin that when you make a brush stroke, it bleeds out, too much moisture. There's not very many times I can think of other than when you're putting a wash or one-step color or something as a filter that's very aggressive on the model that you want that much moisture, right? You want it to still stay exactly where you put it. Right? So again, if I put it on like my finger like this and it spreads out and runs into all my hand hair and stuff like that, way too thin. I want to be able to still draw a line with it. Even though it's super wet and I put it on my hand, I take off enough so that when I get done, I can just make a line, a very thin line on my hand. Well, you can hardly see this because it's so, there you go. You see that line. Then I know it's good to paint with. Then I come over here and I can sketch it on here and it just goes where I want it to. That will never become chalky. No matter how bright of a color you're using, this will never become chalky now. Unless you layer up a ton of layers. The other thing, like I said, is a multifaceted question because you could also be painting thin and putting too many layers on. That goes back to why somebody earlier when we were talking about the vibrancy thing, you know, I mentioned that if you were using like 15 layers of glaze, that you'll still have desaturated color, and you can also create chalkiness by glazing too many layers over the top of one another. So a lot of that's technique based. Zoom in super close.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to look at that sleeve.
Let me read. There it is.
Right. And that's while being a super, super thin glaze, you can imagine glazing like that over skin or something, right? And you'll never get any chalkiness. And you can glaze white like that, ivory like that, any of the brighter colors, and you'll never get a chalkiness. But it's because I wicked it all the way on my thumb.
Carl Duty, painting skeleton for He-Man. What do you recommend for a base of purple hood and chest piece? I started with Payne's Gray and then went to dark plum. Should I do something different?
I like that.
That's
Seems good to me.
A great
dark
route.
plum into like royal purple or purple or something like that would be really great.
Help!
It is 100, but painting bites, it's 100% too much moisture. Whether that moisture is coming from the wet palette because your wet palette's too wet, or that moisture is coming from your brush because you're dipping it. Remember, when you have a wet palette, there's not as much need to get moisture on your brush before going to the palette. You already got enough water in the palette, so a dry brush going to the palette is going to add a lot of moisture to it anyway. Some people that I know will just wipe their brush on the top of the wet palette surface to get it moist and then go to the paint. It just depends. Mm-hmm. I personally don't use a wet palette because it's a very uncontrollable beast. The paint is always gaining more moisture than it needs, and eventually isn't the same paint that came out of the bottle. It's all thinned, and I'm not always thinning my paint. A lot of times I use it straight out of the bottle, but that's because Pro-Acryl is a different beast than other hobby paints. So we made it to use out of the bottle, and the only time you need to thin Pro-Acryl is to either airbrush with it or to lower its opacity for filters and glazes and other techniques. Otherwise, just use the paint with a moist brush right out of the bottle. Monument Hobbies, help! Swifter Bear, a friend of yours is asking for a painted mini this week that has a ton of leather that he wants aged. What's your general recipe? For color? I mean, the general easy one is dark umber, light umber, olive flesh, and then transparent brown over the top.
Heck, this one that you did on this guy is amazing.
Yeah, this was a bunch of nickel, azo yellow, and burnt umber out of the expert line, and then we did the warm brown one step over the top of it, and the black one step over the top of it on the hat. The hat and the jacket were done exactly the same as far as coloration, with the nickel, azo yellow and the burnt umber, and then white. And just mixing that and using it for the sketchiness. Zoom in close again, because you'll see on the coat, that's just my rough brush strokes that give it the texture of beat up leather, right? I was able to use a little bit of a drier brush, so I didn't put as much moisture on my brush so that it would drag a little bit. It's hard to describe, but I think maybe you get it. You know, if you've ever taken a purely dry brush out of your cup and dipped it in paint and tried to paint with it, the paint tends to feel like it's grabbing the model differently. Doesn't pull a nice consistent line. The line is a little more jagged, right? Because the bristles aren't soaking the paint into them. The paint's just hanging on the tip, and so when you paint with it, the viscosity of the paint is the thing that's limiting how your painting stroke looks. So that's what I did here. I used a drier brush, so you'll see that like it. I don't know. You should be able to tell. Like each brush stroke just kind of feathers out and weird. It's like has texture on the sides of the line, and at the end it breaks up. That's just because I didn't use as much moisture on the brush. So I like to paint that way when I'm doing leather, so it has that more beat up feel to it, and that's just by the application. Whereas on the cloth here, I did not do that. I used a more moist brush, and so my lines are more specific in the area where I put them, and they don't break up as much until I do like stippling on the edge there and such.
Swifter Bear says, "Do you use bold titanium white for the brightest highlights?" Do you ever do that?
It's rare that you'll see me use white as a color that I finish with.
Yeah.
Every now and then with non-metallic metal, if it's a very bright, like on an edge of a sword or something, I'll go to pure white as a color you see on the model.
Yeah.
I use pure white here because I'm glazing back over it. This was the black, the pure black one step, which you guys don't have yet. The black blue comes out in the first set, but this is the pure black from set 2. And so I did a quick glaze of the black, thinned it down 2 or 3 to 1, I think it was, and put it over the same Nicolazo yellow-brown combo that was on the vest, or on the jacket. And I did the black on this and got this kind of more brownish green looking. So I wanted to make sure I went to pure white on the highlights here because I knew I was putting black back over the top. Same thing here. We were doing the warm brown, so I peaked it to pure white in a couple of places. And I peaked the yellow to pure white in a couple of places, like here on the corner of the vest up there, just because it lets that value punch through the color when I'm glazing a final coat on and gives me more depth to it than I deserve to have, because you're cheating the system through the values in the glaze undercoat. So that gives you more of a buildup of volumes instantaneously. But I rarely use, like if I'm looking around here, how many models actually have white on them?
Like as the brightest highlight?
No.
Not much. I don't even think you did your towel with that. Your towel was white.
Oh,
blue.
yeah. The towel is actually titanium white as the edge highlight.
Yeah, that's the reference.
Yeah, if you pop in close on that, it's titanium white on the edge highlight of the armor.
Yeah, but
because when painting white, I don't use white other than a little bit of transparent white on any of the armor here, and then titanium white in very thin amounts on the top, right?
Painting
so
white
that you
is
you
great.
get to blast that little bit of white value on there. And it looks really great.
Go check that video out if you need help painting white. I reference this video all the time for myself. The painting white without painting white.
Yeah, because we didn't use any white. It's all the grays and blue grays and things like that. But it especially in the world where we're doing military models and things that are out in the war all the time, white is like stormtroopers and whatever else. Unless you're painting stormtroopers on the Death Star at parade readiness, you don't really get a true white. And even then, you're going to get the reflection because the white is so highly polished. You're going to get the reflection of the environment, which makes it not bright white. It makes it gray out because you're getting silver walls, black floors, all of that reflection in the white is still going to make it gray. So you can still make a parade-ready white without using any bright white. And that just always gives you the ability to move to a level of brightness that gives you flexibility for adding more highlight. Remember, once you put white on a model, you can't go any brighter. You're done.
What about ultra white?
Paid professional, chat. The world's whitest white.
Ultra white. I guess. Anyway,
there's actually white that has little pearlescent beads in it, little tiny microscopic beads in the paint.
So you're saying
that reflects even more and makes a brighter white than normal white.
You're saying we're going to come out with that white?
No, not at all.
Little pearl beads?
No. It's in the automotive world. You can get a ultra white finish, but it's really just giving you a very high gloss. But the way the little microspheres in the paint reflect, it spreads the shine out rather than being a focus shine.
We should do that.
Like a gloss?
How do we do that, Jason?
No, we're not doing that.
How can we do that for miniature painting?
We don't. It actually works against everything I teach. Thanks. Thanks for that.
We'll go backwards.
Whiter than the whitest white times infinity. Will you at some point put out a book? That would be so cool, called The Wisdom of Chris. The Wisdom of Chris.
I'm so glad you asked.
Never.
I plan on retiring with the book that I'm currently writing right now.
It's called something business.
It's called Basic Business. Great segue. This is now becoming my TED Talk.
I love how to paint Irish people. Titanium white. The wisdom of Chris with just a touch of bronze.
Okay.
If you use a dropper to sample color from pretty much anything, most things that appear white are not. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that was a lot of info that we just absorbed, Jason.
That was a lot.
That was
of
a lot
very,
of
very
info.
good.
A lot of good info.
That was a lot of good stuff.
Vibrancy, questions. If I missed a question, restate it for me so I can pitch it
Oh,
back
Rogue
up.
Leader. That is the best statement I've heard in a long time. Chris is very much reminiscent of Michael Scott from The Office.
What are you going to do?
It's a lot of words, paid professional.
They all make sense if you all read. If you all
The words have meaning.
Rewind it.
The
backwards.
way you put them together,
Oh, they have meaning.
little different.
All the words mean something.
They do all mean something. That is true. When taking in their entirety, though, it's hard sometimes to find
Yeah.
the meaning.
I want to make you work for it. That's the point. I want to make you think. You know.
It's sometimes hard to find the meaning. I'm just saying. Every now and then. I'm gonna take some chrome oxide green and go over this yellow.
What are you talking about? He was here. I don't
Who?
know what you're talking about.
Who was here?
Doesn't even matter. Bug says, "Did Jason watch the April 1st stream?" And what are you talking about? He was doing it. I don't. That's a weird question, Bugs.
Let me explain to you how talking about April 1st is kind of like talking about Fight Club.
Thank you, Game Delay.
Everybody's going to deny it exists.
What are you Jason, what are you talking about?
See?
What?
See?
Don't confuse people.
100%. See?
I don't know what you're talking about. And don't mind those tattoos that still have not come off my... I was doing a test with these... What I was told to be temporary tattoos.
Who told you that?
They're actually semi-permanent. So
was this a guy in an alley behind a bar?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Was his name maybe Sidewinder Slim?
I was.
Was his name Sidewinder Slim?
He could have been.
Did he look a little bit like? Did he have way too many hands?
Was he a roach?
Did he have too many hands? Was that one of the features that kept you guessing?
Paid professional gaslighters. I don't know what you're talking about, Ken. We are very truthful here at Monument Hobbies, and by truthful, I mean we tell the truth. All the time.
I tell the truth. The
You
rest
do.
of these guys are questionable.
Technically, Jason does tell the truth.
The rest of this class act of ours, questionable at best.
Did the guy in the alley look like a cockroach? He might have. He looked like my first wife.
But hey, don't say that because your kids are cute-ish.
Did Jason find dark lining necessary, or does dark to light layering kind of take care of that naturally?
It takes care of it naturally once you get good enough at it. 100%. Great question. I do not go back and paint a lot of shadow on models, but it does not preclude you from being able to do so, right? It just bakes in a lot of that already. And typically what I do is I go back and then focus in the shadows for color, right? Because there's a lot of times where, and we'll do some of that here in a minute. There's a lot of times where the color that you use in the shadows may need to be added back in. You know, if I start a model with dark purple and then through layering up, maybe I lose the impact of the purple the way I'm really wanting it, then I'll have to go back and glaze a little bit of purple back into the shadows, perhaps. So there's always the capability of going back and forth. But yeah, I don't ever really panel line models or anything like that. There's no need.
Super Bleeder, I followed the ultramarine painting steps from the YouTube at a paint and take it at LGS, and I won their painting competition.
Heck
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's the best version of you using that video.
Awesome. Airlight Yellow Deep.
You can just go back to that video and just change the colors and get literally any Legion you're looking for. That's how we came up with that, essentially, just so that you can just do whatever Legion. It's fun. You know what's weird, Jason? Don't answer that.
Whoa, sorry.
What's really
Why do you
weird?
ask me these things?
Do you ever just get a hankering to paint space?
For a hunk of cheese?
Yes.
A sliver, slice, a chunk of hanker for a hunk of cheese.
We're not. This is a serious business painting stream. You ever get a hankering to just paint Space Marines, Jason?
You've seen it happen, Chris.
Why is it?
You've
Why?
seen it happen.
Why does that happen? I literally
Space Marines are just baked into the entire hobby.
It's wild, isn't it?
Not
It's
for everybody.
crazy.
You got the Tims of the world.
Yep. For some reason though, like I was just like, wouldn't it be cool to just paint up a really cool Space Wolves army just for fun?
Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
I don't
There's
know why.
good storytelling in Space Marines if you're into the lore.
Yes.
For sure.
I have been enjoying Space Marine too. I truly have.
Oh, if you've been playing the game, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't come at any of this from video games, so I always forget that that's a thing.
Oh, dude, it totally. Dawn of War is totally responsible for why I like anything 40K.
Yeah, tons of people feel the same way.
That's
to me, Dawn of War was something the hobby led me into.
Yeah.
And I was not impressed.
Oh, interesting.
Because I don't like real-time strategy games.
Oh, that's true. You've mentioned that before.
Yeah, so Dawn of War never really checked any boxes for me past the fact that it had Space Marines in it. And so I would play those games and I'd be like, it's rad, but then it's like, it feels like, job's done. And I hated those games. So
I love those games.
Yeah, I hated those games. It felt too much like, why did I just leave? Why didn't I just stay at work? I could have just stayed at work and gotten paid for this, but I'm sitting here paying to do work.
Real-time strategy games?
Yeah. Yeah.
Work's done.
Everybody. Okay, so how are they judged? Clicks per minute.
That's true. That's 100%.
Or CPM, CPS. If you talk to these kids, and it's
I
like,
used to be super into that in Starcraft. I used to try to get my actions per minute or whatever it's called. Clicks per second, actions per minute.
Yeah, so I leave the office. Although, okay.
Wait a second.
I am the biggest hypocrite in the world. Jen's probably out there laughing because she listened to me all week and cursed at my computer because I was playing.
Where'd you play?
I played Wu Chang Fallen Feathers.
Oh, yes.
Which is a Souls-like that I am ready to say is the best non-FromSoft Souls-like game.
Right.
It's so good. I'm having a blast with it. But holy pissed off at bosses I was all weekend. They've done a great job of tuning the bosses in a great way to where they feel beatable, but they're still, that's what makes it so frustrating is you get them down to like 10,
Dude.
not even, you get them down to like 2% health and they win.
That's why I don't play Elden Ring, man. I love Elden Ring.
Elden Ring is, the FromSoft games are intensely different because the FromSoft games, a boss will kill you and they still have 90% of their health.
Oh.
This game at least makes you feel like you have a chance before they smack you around.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this game makes you feel like, oh, yeah, I got the boss down to 2% health. Of course I'm going to fight it again. And then, like, by round 4, when you win, you're ready to just jump up and cheer.
I'm getting mad just listening to you talk about it.
You are?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hate those games.
Yeah.
But I love to play them. That's the problem. I'm the same way, man. Whew.
Nothing like getting carpal tunnel at 18. Yeah, exactly.
I have a group jump pack intercessors that remain unpainted due to my inability to decide which haver to paint them. It doesn't matter. Space Wolves.
Yeah.
Scorched Earth.
Yep.
I started
You rocket
Starcraft.
Minesweeper. Hey, stay there. Stay in that lane.
I wish. Wirehead, you're right.
Stay in that lane. That's
but
a good lane to stay in.
I did have a deep desire to paint Space Wolves this last weekend because I like the bearded ones with the big axes and stuff. Because I think I was telling you that it mixes fantasy and 40K. So I'm like, okay, this works with me. Ogre, what's going on?
Wu-Tang is for the chili. It's Wu-Chang.
It's Wu-Tang.
Wu-Chang, Fallen Feathers.
For several decades straight.
It was on sale for like $15, and I was like, Souls-like for $15. I think at retail it's only like $30. It was on half off, so it was like $15 for a Souls-like. I was like, hell yeah! And now I'm like, it's game rules. How they did it so cheap, I don't know. Right, because it's just a total knockoff.
November, I still play Dawn of War 2 Retribution, and I can't wait till Dawn of War 4. I'll be a stinky boy, not leaving my house. Only
Protect
for
your
work.
paint.
Hey, we're going to be painting some StarCraft this week, me and Jordan. And by me and Jordan, I mean Jordan will be painting. And I'll be giving him a good hard time. He's going to be doing a bunch of one-step workups for Zerg. So, get ready. Is that right,
Oh, he's
Jason?
painting Zerg?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he got the other elf.
He has all of it.
Oh, okay, okay.
He has all of it. He has Protoss, and he has
Protoss. That's who it is. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, 90% of it is in the crates that don't get back till tomorrow.
Oh.
So he has a couple Zergs. So we're gonna be painting up some Starcraft, so that you guys can stop asking us, when are you gonna paint Starcraft? Hola hola hoopty hoo. We'll paint it.
I've never heard anybody say that.
Jason will paint some Starcraft.
I've literally never heard anybody in chat say that.
Hoopty hoopty hoo.
They've never said that.
Many people have. Many.
I'm excited to paint some of the Zerg.
Yeah, you like the bugs.
I like the bugs. I don't really care for any of the other ones, but the bugs I really dig.
Yeah, the bugs are cool.
The bugs are super cool.
I didn't realize they had like all of the I should know this. I haven't looked into it, but I finally did, and they have all the units, which is super cool. Because I played Zerg.
See, that's the only thing is it's a very limited palette, so to speak. I feel like they don't have enough. The first thing I said to you was they need more factions.
Which
and everybody laughs at because it's like, have you ever played Starcraft?
There's been 3 for 20 years.
And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything when you put them on the table and ask people to collect them.
Yeah.
That only matters when you put it in a video game and you ask people to play their favorite faction.
Ryan, I know Ryan's out there. He got the Worms game, so I wanna try that game. Hey, Commando Ken. Hey, when are you guys going to paint StarCraft? That's what I was just saying.
Wait a minute.
Wednesday and Thursday.
Wait a minute.
Stay tuned. We got Baby J coming in hot. He's pumped.
Yeah, I want to get some of the Zerg. I'm gonna talk to the Archon folks. See if they can't send us some.
Oh, they'll send you some.
I really want to paint the Queen.
Oh.
And Kerrigan.
Yeah.
And the roaches. The little guys I don't care about. Boy, Prussian blue is a good color. A little bit of white. Probably won't throw my brush in that.
When are you going to paint G.I. Joe Operations Cobra, Jason? Says Carl Duty.
Not going to do it.
Now for the big question, says Painting Bites, is because the StarCraft models have transparent bits on them, how will you use them? That I'm curious. You know what? I was inspired to do our transparents. Jason was mentioning that last week. Like clear resin bits using our transparents.
Yeah. A couple of ways you can do it. If you want to keep them translucent plastic, then you can definitely go through and do that by priming them with matte varnish.
Okay.
As opposed to a regular primer. So you prime them with matte varnish, let the varnish coat dry really well, and then come back over the top of that with transparent paints.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The transparent paints will make it not be so matte again. Bring back the shine from that. You can do this with like aircraft canopies and all sorts of things. So that's one way. The other way is to just make it opaque and paint it like it wasn't translucent. That's what I will most likely be doing. Okay. But I will probably, I'll probably take a couple of them and paint them like I'm talking about as a way to show people how to do that.
It was a very you know what, Jason? I bet you a lot of people are going to ask that question because they got that box. It has a lot of transparent bits.
It has a lot of transparent bits in it. Yeah, like the Protoss have got like whole dudes that are transparent because it's like some sort of thing they do.
Yeah, like a cloak thing.
Like a clone or like a decoy or something
there is a lot of translucent plastic.
Like a decoy or something, I don't know.
Don't
play the game, so I don't know.
I found some resin bits for my Horse Heresy Knights that like ion shields and stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought that'd be kind of cool to clear print plastic those and then use the transparents.
Yep. It's a neat way to do stuff.
Commando King, currently trying to wrap my feeble mind around OSL. I'm doing a purple glow effect with faded plum, fluorescent purple, and probably dark purple. Do I finish the brightest area with white? I still doesn't look right. You know what's interesting? I think the next time Jason maybe does Jason takes over the producer chair and I'll do a stream. We should do an OSL one, Jason.
Oh, God. I probably need to do more for people first. We haven't done OSL in a long time.
You haven't. I would love to see that because I love OSL, but I like watching you do the OSL and explaining it.
We haven't done what I would call a professional OSL job in a very long time. I just don't have a lot of models.
You just do it like the quick examples, but that would be cool.
I did like the wish.com on one of the last dudes that we did over here.
That would be super cool if you did that. And
talked about it, but doing one from start to finish where we really focus in on how to light a model, what happens to light that allows you to build your color up, because the hardest thing is controlling what we were talking about earlier, which is value, right? Where does the brightest light go? What does that intensity of light mean for how far you brighten other aspects of the model? Those are the things that most people don't think about when they're doing it.
Absolutely.
And that causes the most problem because it then looks like, I call it a juice spill, right? It just looks like you spilled some colored juice on your model at the end of the day because it doesn't feel like the way light works. And it's one of those that's really hard to get across in the right way because everybody you show your model to when it has OSL knows exactly what light does, even though they don't have the words to describe it.
Yeah.
People can't tell you why it looks wrong, but they know it'll look wrong if it does.
Right.
Because everybody's seen a fire, everybody's seen how flame works, everybody's seen how lamp light works. We live in it every day.
Yeah.
And so if you're not careful, you'll wind up doing something where everybody knows it's wrong and nobody can tell you why.
That's a good way to put it. I bet you we could find one of these Conquest models to do that.
There's a lot that have really cool stuff on it. I would need to... Right. Unfortunately, I painted myself into a corner kind of with the Conquest. I haven't been painting any of them at like display quality. But we can do something like that.
Make an exception.
Well, I haven't painted any of my... Oh, no, I have. Oh, I haven't finished any of the orcs.
The Wadroon.
The Wadroon. So I think maybe on the Wadroon guys, we could create a way to have something with some OSL. I don't know what. They don't really have a lot of fire or anything, but we'll look at some of them because I haven't painted any of the other models to like what I would call a display quality. Everything else has just been, kind of quick and getting paint on the model. But, I'm doing some quick non-metallic on some of them and things like these guys when doing the flame works, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on OSL on them.
Right.
But we may have a model. Since I'm now really just building armies for First Blood, we could probably pick a model in particular to do OSL on and just paint that like a display.
You guys send me those lists.
I do.
Mister.
I do, yes.
Philip built another, there's another...
He told me
guys over there.
He told me that. He told me I had to go get him from the office.
No, I got them.
Oh, you brought them here?
Yeah.
He said he had them at the office.
No, I brought them.
Oh.
He gave them to me over the weekend.
Oh, okay, cool.
Unless he.
That's what he meant. Is that he gave you?
Yeah, he gave me the models.
Okay,
they're just these little guys for the basic troops. But those are pretty cool.
100 Kingdoms, the Crusaders.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're fun. I want to paint some of those guys.
Carl Dewey says, "Is an airbrush a must for OSL?"
It makes the job
easier.
Total cheat, yes. So it is a cheat mode for it, but only if you're really, really comfortable with the airbrush. So, it doesn't do a whole lot of good if you're not great with the airbrush, because you're having to use the airbrush to airbrush parts of the model that you already finished. So does that sound comfortable to you? If not, then don't worry about it, because you can do the same thing with a brush and glazing. And OSL is scary no matter what, because you're always putting paint on parts of the model that are kind of done anyway, and so you just have to grin and bear it to some extent.
Claude says, Jason, as you paint the pants, are you painting a specific way to create texture, or are you just going for 95% coverage and leaving the recesses dark?
I'm
going with the texture.
So I'm going with a direction of my brush to create texture, yes.
Gotcha.
It's why you'll see me painting across the cylinder of the leg with my brush stroke in all of those cases. So I'm going this way. Right?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I'm going this way.
Yep.
Right? Rather than up and down. This will have a checkerboard pattern on it, believe it or not. So I'm not as worried about texture, but when I'm painting fabric, I tend to, regardless, pick a direction and stick with it. So here, going across the cylinder is going to help. And then leaving some darkness away from my light. My light is from our left, his right. And so I'm leaving darkness on one side of the seams. Yeah. And then painting up to the seam on the other side for that. This is technically still a shade layer of paint, even though I'm brightening it up.
Yeah.
Because these are supposed to be very, very faded blue pants. I'm kind of doing from the
Classic
artwork that Adrian Smith did. Not 100%. I'm not going to go as bright as he did just because of Old West dirt. I don't believe I should have all of that vibrancy headed out, but we'll play with it and see.
Speaking of Old West dirt.
Gabe's not here to play your little game. Not here for your little game.
Welcome in, everybody. If you don't know what Jason's painting, he is actually painting up Series 2, the Weird West Villains Texture Trainer Frameable, that are coming out on April 13th, along with 2 others, Rufus, Sidewinder Slim, and Whiplash Willy. So you will be able to get these bad boys on the 13th. Also, along with the new Expert Acrylic Artist Series, Series 2, that will also be coming out on the 13th, so that you can buy them all at once and paint, have fun with it. And the expert artist acrylics, the Series 2, that chrome oxide green, if you haven't seen Jason use it yet, it is my favorite green. Like if I was describing a color green, that's the green.
It's a great green.
It's a great green. So anyway, keep an eye out. April 13th, those are coming. And also Discord, little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We always give you all a little bit of a heads up if you're on our Discord. So if you're not a part of our Discord, click this link right here and make sure you go sign up and sign in to Discord so that you can join our Discord. And there you go. Don't say I didn't tell you so. Before we go live. Well, they go live. We just tell you an hour earlier. So there you go. That's my pitch.
I'll grab the other ones and show them to you again if you haven't seen them yet. This is a tremendous set of characters. Really, really digging them.
They're great.
Can't wait to get to Paintin.
I think you're all really going to like them.
Sidewinder Slim and Rufus. Really, really good stuff. A lot of fun shapes. A lot of neat textures that you can play around with this. The fact that they are the kind of Wild West flavor will give you a lot to play with in how you choose to reach vibrancy like what we were talking. I think these are great studies in exactly what we were talking about earlier. Because you are always, in my opinion, wanting to focus on recreating the world in which the model lives within.
Yeah.
And, something like the Wild West wasn't all, vibrant paint and color, I don't think. Now I've grown up on spaghetti westerns and, of course, Clint Eastwood and, all that kind of stuff, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Right.
And so everything is always super dirty. But I really like the idea of a desaturated West feel.
They're a little harder to see with their white, but that's Sidewinder Slim.
Sidewinder Slim. He's a cockroach. He's got...
I should zenithal those for you at some point.
1, 2, 3, 4 arms showing you all of the goods you can buy out of his coat. And then Rufus, the tank, the bodyguard for the gang, who carries the money box and a bat. And it has a very bodacious underbite, which I really like. You can hear Rufus speak when you look at the model. He's got the, okay, boss.
D-Fresh says, I'm starting a Dark Angels army and want to go into a black-green scheme. Which primer would you start with? I had a crazy idea was starting with red oxide primer, then black-green on top. That could be cool.
Yeah. The black-green is much, much darker. So the
than
only
red
thing there
oxide.
is that the red oxide, if you leave too much of that black green showing, the red oxide is going to feel like an OSL of some sort, like a lava effect.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Dark angels. Right.
So that's the only thing I would say in that case. You might want to darken it up even more. But I'm trying to think like what we would use in that case, because we did our army man. Where'd my army man go? I do with the army. It's probably staring at me, right?
Is it on? Is it by your?
Oh, it's right here.
Oh, there you go.
I took him off the plinth. I took him off the plinth thing. Right, we did our army man with the red oxide underneath. And it does great underneath green because they're complementaries. So even though I didn't mix technically, the red oxide gives it a really neat shadow, like a brownish shadow to the green that works really well.
Yeah.
Right? So that can work, but notice how none of my greens are as dark as black green.
I see. Yeah.
So you could play with it and see how it works for you, but be ready for it to maybe be a little bit bright to read the way you want it to.
D-Fresh says mix black primer into the red.
Good. Yep. The black and the red would work great together. Just don't desaturate it too much, obviously. But yeah, I think that would be the direction I would go. Or prime it black and then mix some Payne's gray into the red oxide primer. Could be a really good way to do it. So if you prime the model black first, and then your second layer of prime with the red oxide, doesn't have to be an actual primer coat, right?
Yeah.
It could be a color coat using the red oxide and mix it with Payne's gray or something like that. Could be really fun.
Yeah, so all of these guys are coming out April 13th. So be on the lookout. How Mandu says, I'm considering getting some of the expert acrylic series. Can you give a quick heads up to how to prepare for those using versus using just regular Pro Acryl? That's a great question.
They work almost identically. Like we were talking about earlier, I literally just use maybe a little bit more water on my brush when I go to mix them on the palette, just because they are so thick.
And for somebody picking them up, Jason, what do you think is a cool technique that they could do right out of the gate? Would you say glazing is
one of the most important things that you'll learn when using them. It's just too good, and you can water them down to next to nothing to get a really good glaze out of them. So that's kind of the thing that I tell people, that when you first pick them up, start glazing with them. See how you like them for that.
What is Rufus supposed to be, Derpstick? He's like an automaton?
Yeah, he's like a
clockwork guy,
like a clockwork ogre.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Although the term ogre is kind of ambiguous. He's like a big clockwork orc type guy.
Yeah.
The Whiplash here is obviously a goblin, and he would be like an orc to Whiplash's goblin. But he's an automaton. He's a big clockwork orc. So maybe he's, the mad scientist in the Weird West has been able to take his mind and put it in a mechanical body because he got blowed up or something. There's a lot of cool stories I could think of on that one. Like maybe he was left holding a stick of dynamite that didn't work out so great.
Yeah. Wouldn't the Kitty Soul says, wouldn't the red oxide work well as a base coat for 30K Horus Heresy salamanders?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think the that green over the red is really cool. Red oxide is just a cool. I've started to do that, Zenithal. Just a hidden tip for all of you. That dark purple primer with the red oxide highlight, then with a taupe highlight is what I've been doing everything in now.
Those three primers, there's a reason why they release together. They work so well.
And when you get your hands on one step, it's awesome. So,
yeah, they really do a number as a trio. Oh, show.
Game delay. He's clockwork. You might say clockwork. Wark. Game delay. You might have.
That's a stretch, but yes.
I like that, and I can hear
see where you're going.
I can hear you saying that now. Game delay. Now that I know I've met you in person, I can hear your voice in my head saying that.
Hoopty hoo.
Game delay. I'd never do you dirty.
What?
Oh, you said that was me?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I'm even more offended. Game delays. I don't know what you're talking about, buddy. That's you. Oh, no. Is that what I sound like?
I wasn't doing game delay.
Unfortunately, everybody, when they do an impression of me,
gets it exactly right.
It sounds like it's too nasally, which makes me so upset.
Right.
Game delay says, Jason is so good at imitating me. It's because I have a horrible deviated septum, chat. I'm all mucusy. We're going to get it fixed, I've determined. I'm going to take a big old stick and just jam it up my nose.
Is that how you fix a deviated septum?
No, they can do
something.
They can do something to help you. But one of my friends got it fixed this year. I think changed his life.
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody that I've talked to that's gone in and
mine's
actually
pretty
had
bad.
It work, but it is
I don't think I have been able to breathe through both nostrils simultaneously for many, many years.
What'd you do?
I don't know. I just was born with it. There's a lot of my family members.
You should be able to charge your parents back for that.
I know, right?
It's a charge back. I want a refund.
My mother has one.
I want a refund.
Yeah, so
from my parents.
Because I can't. When I open up my nostrils like this, chat, it actually really helps. So I can also wear one of those really cool magnetic strips, but then you all just give me hell, so I suffer.
You should suffer.
Woe is me.
You should suffer.
Woe is me.
I feel like suffering is what you're built for.
I don't know how to take that. I think that's a compliment and a misfortune all at once. What's the next biggest convention that you guys are going to? Gen Con, I believe. That's pretty big. And then we have a lot in the EU.
Well, I mean, our biggest convention just happened, which is Adepticon. It is the single largest wargaming convention on the planet.
Give us a minute. Gen Con, I think, is the next big one, right, Jason?
As far as attendance goes, there are much larger attended conferences or conventions than Adepticon, but none of them as focused on what we do. Mm-hmm. I always say that everybody at Adepticon is a lover of the hobby.
Yeah.
No other show is like that. At that size. Adepticon's got to be the world's largest in that vein.
Oh, Hooper says, will you be going over the base layer competition today? When are we going to do that, Jason? Or should we, is that...
I'm waiting on Matt. We turned in all the winners over the weekend.
Check out the socials, by the way. We'll announce it there as well.
Matt has all the winners.
Yeah.
I do not know when he's wanting to do like a review of it.
Maybe we could have...
But he does want to do that, I know. So it will be coming.
Maybe we could have him on here?
Yeah. Either on here. We could either do it on our stream, or I don't know if he's talking about doing it on Base Layer stream. I don't know if he's ready to do that. But yeah, we'll figure it out. We picked out the winner. He should be announcing the winners, and then there'll be a secondary date for doing that. Unfortunately, I leave out of town on Wednesday, so it'll have to be next week.
You're leaving?
Yeah. Yep, you scared me away, Chris.
I did. But we're going to be painting StarCraft the rest of the week. So
it's going to be super fun. Sorry I'm going to miss that.
No, you'll be there. You'll watch. You'll be here in spirit.
I got lots of stuff going on. I don't think I'll be able to get on during stream time.
Are you kidding me?
I don't think so. Stream time for me
my little heart.
5 p.m.
Oh, you're going to be out in the wild, out in the wildy, as the kids call it.
I don't think that's what kids say. I don't think that's a thing.
Okay, shorties. Yes, Jordan and I mean Jordan. Jordan is not me, but Jordan, our very own Baby J, will be painting some StarCraft this week. He's going to be showing off some one step in the Baby J fashion and make us all look bad by getting models probably done very quickly.
Like, I feel like if there's anybody on the planet they should not be able to use one step, it's Jordan.
Yeah, we give Jordan one step, and it's like giving
Does he
Goku
even
less
have
gravity.
to touch the model, or does it just finish because it's scared?
Yeah.
I feel like the models just come out painted when he picks up the bottle.
He might just reprime it just for fun midstream. And now I'm even more so. Okay, shorties, yeah, it's coming down the pipe. Now, technically, the term is it's coming down the pike.
Like,
not the pipe. And somebody tried to correct me the other day, rightfully so, because I am known to wordsmith phrases, but I'm like, no, this is the correct way to say this.
It's the pike.
It's down the pike. Something's coming down the pike. And I had to bring it up, and I had to embarrass them in front of many people. And I said, I know who I am. I am who I am.
I am's who I am's, and it can't be's no more. I don't know why I said that like a Boston.
And that's proud to you.
Like the Kennedys.
We'll do it right. We'll do it first. We'll put a man on the moon. Yeah.
Fake. Fake. I watched something the other day that was talking about the Kuiper belt, and I was like, oh, wait.
The Kuiper belt?
That's a real thing.
What's the Kuiper belt?
The radiation belt around the Earth that prevents us from leaving low Earth orbit because the radiation would destroy so much stuff.
Oh, the Kuiper belt.
I think it's the Kuiper belt.
It sounds like something
Maybe
I
not
put
the
on my
Kuiper belt.
chili.
The Van Allen belt. That's what it is. The Kuiper belt is out.
No, it's
by
the Van Halen belt,
no,
Jason.
It's not. It's the Van Allen belt. The Kuiper belt is out further.
Technically, it's the Van Halen belt, but we'll let that slide.
It's not the Van Halen belt, but thanks for your
Thanks
for your time and effort there, buddy.
Word smush, not wordsmith, Chris. Wirehead, wordsmith, sir. Thank you very much. Dr. Rhino says, this guy paints pretty good, Chris. You should hire him. You know what I should? I should consider Jason
Do I get the job?
For employment here at Monument Hobbies.
Do I get the job?
You just need to do this for 10 more years.
Can I has? Oh, really? Like a journeyman? Like an apprentice? Who am I apprenticing under?
Me.
It's sure.
Good.
Whoa.
You will paint, and you will like it.
Whoa.
He's hired. Congratulations, Jason. You work at Monument Hobbies now.
Well,
that was easy.
Yay.
Jason is, in fact, employed.
I guess. Yay. Heard a lot about this Monument Hobbies company.
It's
I'm
okay.
intrigued.
I mean, it's okay.
I'm intrigued.
It's just okay. No, it's pretty good.
Intrigued by what I've heard so far. Seems like people dig it.
If you're into that kind of thing.
I mean, I kind of am.
You are. If you weren't, we'd be in a hell of a world.
Can you imagine?
Nah, I'm not really into this. No!
Can you imagine? Like, I talked, it's funny because in our industry, there are a lot of people, they will remain nameless, who are in this industry because they've been in it for so long and they absolutely hate the hobby now. And I feel so bad for people that have been in the hobby so long, been in the industry so long that they've grown to where they just dislike the hobby in general. But they still either run companies or are involved in a way that they can't get out. It's like their it's their job.
Yeah. I see. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
100%. The hard part is finding out a way to keep it something you love.
Yes.
I think is the way I would put that.
Yep.
Because you can't rely on it always doing the work for you, and a lot of people do. When I talk to people who have burnout like that, typically that's what I find. Is that they, for the longest time, the hobby did it and they didn't have to think about it. And then it stopped providing an automatic love response, I guess,
It became work.
It becomes work, right? And that's
and that's a huge thing.
Yep.
It's a hard thing to come by. It's a it's a luxury sometimes, right? But luckily Jason likes to paint. He can paint and he uses the tools in front of you to paint. So there you go.
I don't get to paint as much as I want. Some of that is self-inflicted. Some of it is because I also like to cause myself self-harm by playing Souls-like games.
That's true. That is very true.
I built a Gundam type model I've been telling you guys about it.
You keep saying this.
It's at home.
Okay.
And because I am trying to find the pose that I want to do, and then I'm going to glue it hard into the pose. The problem with those models is that even the bigger Gundams is that the joints are loose, so when you're painting, it's moving all around. I hate that.
They do that on purpose?
Hate that.
Because
it's an action figure.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's true.
I hate that. I hate action figures, whatever. But so on this one, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to pose it to where when I'm holding it to paint it, it's a solid, feels like a resin figure, like it's all then.
Right.
And a lot of the joints are like a rubber gasket that you put a thing into, so you can't glue it.
Oh.
So I'm having to go back and figure out how to join all of that up. So
you can't just super glue it, huh?
I mean, I can, but I have to figure out how to super glue plastic to plastic. So I'm trying to pose it to where other parts of the model touch hard plastic.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Not glue the joint, but glue the parts around it.
Got it.
So it's being a little more difficult than I would like, but
I see.
But I'm excited for that one. But all weekend, it's on my desk, on my computer desk, and I'm sitting there playing video games, working, and I'm staring at it. And all weekend, I was like, God, I really need to go and like make something happen with this model. I wanted to come up to the office and never did.
Doghouse Hobbies. I know Doghouse, you do a lot of Gundam. Brass pins or JB Weld?
Yeah, that's the thing, is I was thinking about brass pinning into the joints, or aluminum rod or something like that I could get in there and then glue.
You know what? I got on a big kick. I'm getting to a place where my knights are almost there. I just nooshed my entire knight army this week.
You admit that out loud?
I did. I nooshed them, and I got to that phase for them. Now it's the last dry brush of steel, and now I'm going back and adding all of the paneling. So my Horus Heresy Knights are getting close.
Very cool.
Now I got to just play the dang game.
Yeah, there is that.
Wirehead, old coat hangers work well for bigger model pinning. Interesting. Yeah, old wire coat hangers.
Yeah, we got all sorts of resources for it. I'm just trying to figure out how to get the pose right, because the biggest thing is locking it into the pose is very hard.
Yeah.
Because once you selected, you're done. Right? There's not a whole lot of ways to drag it back from that spot you've chosen, and you have to kind of do it limb by limb. So it's difficult. I've done it before, and it's just always the least fun for me, and why I don't focus a lot on Gundam style building. But I'm having fun with this one. It's called a 30-minute mecha. It's by Bandai. 30mm.
Yeah, you were saying this is kind of like, is this like an intro set?
Not an intro set. It's a what do they call it? Custom. It's a custom Gundam style build. It's not from the Gundam universe.
Got it.
They are their own made up thing, but they build them in a way that is a little less exact, because they have connection points all over them to customize and put new stuff on.
Yeah.
So you're basically building your own model. It comes as a set model kit with details, but then you can buy all of these side packs.
Yeah.
That have extra hands or different heads or shoulder plates or knee pads and different feet and weapons and all that. And so you go in and you build your own. So I've really had fun with it. I got what's called a round Nova. Round as in circle or ball. Called a round Nova. And a Gardenova.
Gardenova?
Gardenova.
I hardly know her.
Not garden like you.
Not garden like you.
Like you. Chris is the plant guy, so if it ever has anything to do with plants, it's like Chris.
I just did some gardening this weekend.
How did I know that?
I don't have a plot of land, chat. I looked into it. Turns out it's not within the I'd have to go way out. You know, it's calling my name though.
Me? Chris!
I guess so. Is this weird, chat, where I'll go on my mini factory or a bunch of those STL things, and I'll just like save for later every Trent file that I find? Like tree or Ent or Trent, whatever.
Trent. I was like, every Trent model is just some dude. Hi.
It's Trent.
It's Trent.
Trient. What are they called? You know what? Also, this is the unfortunate part. GW just came back out with all of their Ents from Middle Earth.
Yep.
That's a tight bill, chat.
Chris is like, it's going to cost me $600.
No, let's see.
I think it was 400 and something.
It's like $450 to buy.
Like $450 to get all the ones you want.
4 models?
You chose this addiction.
I did.
Drugs
They're
would
so
have been
cool.
cheaper.
That Treebeard model from Middle Earth Strategy Game is very well done. No free pub for GW, but we'll give them a little bit. They're a little bit of free pub.
No free pub, but a little bit of free
The
pub.
new Custode models too? Shoot, those look good.
Wow, wish you could buy them. Did I say that out loud? Sorry.
I'm not buying them. Well, I thought about potentially buying them and
Well,
putting
since no stores got them, you can't.
Really? I didn't know that.
You haven't been paying attention.
I have not been paying attention. What
GW
happened?
did the huge rug pull again.
Oh no.
Yeah, the set that I bought for Philip,
Yeah.
non-existent.
What?
I absolutely blew that guy apart on the internet. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I said, your own inability to maintain your relationship with GW is not your customer's problem.
What?
Yeah. That guy
Oh
went.
no.
That guy went and canceled all the orders, and it's not his fault as a store owner.
Sure.
I get it, but went and made it all of the purchasers canceled their orders on him, as opposed to taking the hit for having all the returns.
Yeah.
I was none too pleased. Yeah, GW being GW. Sorry, they earned that one.
I didn't realize that. I wanted to put Thunder Warrior heads on them.
I mean, I'm sure they'll come out eventually. But...
Eventually. Yeah. That's those Ents are fun. They're very fun.
Pants.
Those are pants, Jason, but
Pant.
technically
It's pant.
It's a pant.
It's a pant. It's not a pair of pants. It's a pant. Yes.
Drugs would have been cheaper. Jason just throws that out there, says Game Delay. I guess that's true. Then Mike, Ents are cheap. Have them all. Mike, one of these days. That's a goblin moose. Okay. Wirehead, you almost got me there. Yikes. Jason, are you getting excited for your trip?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
We're going to do some fun stuff. We were supposed to go to a Predators hockey game. I was really stoked for that, and then they reneged.
Oh,
on the
yes.
deal.
Oh, you were talking about that.
Yeah, so that bummed me out. That's not going to happen. So he says, oh, but the thing we're doing in place of it, you'll really love it. I was like, will I? So I'm being that guy. I'm like, but will I, though? Or will I just be the person that says, it's no hockey game?
That's no hockey game.
I'll probably do that the whole time, just to be that guy. I mean, we could have been at the hockey game.
Harry says, just starting a orc Rekka crew and never painted orcs before. What to use paint? What should I use for the skin in regards to pro acrylic paints? Would love some guidance on what paints to get to paint awesome orc skid. Thanks. Great question, by the way.
Yeah, we were just asked that earlier, and I really do like our dark yellow green. I start with a base of like dark purple or dark blue. If you're not comfortable doing that, you don't have to. But dark yellow green, bright yellow green, you can mix depending on how dark you like your orc skin. You could mix the bright yellow green into the yellow green for the top color.
Yep.
And do with it as you will, as opposed to just having it be, too bright, like goblin flesh kind of was what I mentioned earlier. Blazing back a little bit of darkness on this.
Warhammer orcs, man. Those are cool too. No free pub. I keep saying that today. But yeah, we'll be painting up some Mike saying, but what would the orc skin look like with a base coat of pale yellow? Oh. A base coat of pale yellow.
Help me understand. What do you mean a base coat of pale yellow? Why would I be using pale yellow?
Oh, Mike says, oh, wait, the answer is they'd look bad.
Oh.
You could do a zenithal, though, and then do one step.
100%. We did some of the Star Wars Legion models like that.
Yeah.
That one turned out really good.
Your bright yellow dry brush, too, I've been using a lot with that. Right?
Yeah.
That's been good.
Yeah, this guy I really like, but this was a combo.
Oh, yeah. That was
the dark green and the yellow one step over a zenithal, and that's a really, really good. So if it's you have to wait for these because they don't go on sale to the general public until May next month. But our one step paints are on the way, and being able to do that in one coat was just tremendous.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, one step.
So from now on, because of, especially with like GW orcs, the way they're such dynamic on the musculature and stuff, they give you a lot of places where you can go in and, get peaks and valleys to make the one-step paints really come alive. Yeah. I think that's the way to paint. That's the way I would paint all of my orcs from now on. 100%.
I mean, if you're into that kind of thing.
We are, Chris. That's why we do what we do.
That's 100% facts. Speaking of facts, Jason.
Don't you dare.
What? Welcome in, everybody.
Oh, okay.
We're so glad you're here. Jason, it's almost 4 o'clock.
What? Impossible.
May, but that's far too long. What if my ADHD makes me forget they exist? We will not let that happen to you.
Not possible.
We are going to have a large release. You will be able to get some.
No FOMO.
We are planning for it. It's going to be a big one. Over the next month and a half, you'll be seeing a lot of that coming out. And getting hyped. I'm
almost liking these without the checks.
I was going to say, how are you going to do the checks on this?
Well, I could, but I'm really having fun with them just with the blue. So it could be that they just wind up being blue pants.
Brent says, can you tell that to my wife that I can get some one step? Brent, you can have her call the hotline.
Is she driving? Or are you driving? Oh, that was so good. I want to know
that was hilarious.
Double T's mom heard us. That's what I want.
Double T says, I'm needing one of those Christmas Sushi signature Noosh bottles to try the Noosh for the first time. I don't know what you're talking about. Just get the big bottle of Noosh. You'll never go back. You're going to laugh at this. I actually used literally half a bottle of Noosh this weekend.
What?
I did, and it came out awesome. Yeah. Dude, I had to Noosh all of those nights. That's a lot of Noosh.
That is a lot of coverage, yes.
And you know what I did? I used petroleum brown, obviously, transparent brown, and I also did some of the sepia, the expert acrylic.
Yep.
In there. Sepia, whatever.
Sepia.
And I had to Noosh a lot of them. So I actually have to buy more Noosh, guys. Which... It came out so good, though. When you let it dry, because I use a lot of Noosh, so I do have to let it dry for a little bit because I cake it on there. But when it dries up, it just leaves a beautiful tint, gets all these big, like, fat globules into the crevices. That's my favorite part because it just looks like oil. So there you go. That's my TED Talk.
That's my TED Talk.
Of course I did. Of course, I add a little bronze to everything.
No, he doesn't.
I truly do.
You don't.
It's more of a spiritual practice now than anything.
He doesn't. I don't believe this man.
I do. I'm not even kidding.
100% lying to you.
What do you mean? I'm not lying.
100% lying to you, chat.
Jason allowed me. He gave me that box, chat. I was very honored.
What box?
That box right up there, Jason.
Oh,
You
yeah.
see it, how it's in the light for you?
It's in the light. How great. There's a whole display for it. Wonderful.
Jason gave me the honors and gave me that set. It's just sitting up here in a big light. Pretty nice.
Yeah, it's not staged or anything.
Monument Hobbies, is stippling really the potent to get smooth blends? It seems to be mandatory past a certain level, but I don't think I've ever heard someone actually enjoying it.
Enjoying doing it, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, or enjoying looking at it once it's done.
Is stippling really that potent to get smooth blends?
Let me pop in close here.
Yeah.
I'm not anywhere done, but just with my, sketchy application of paint, you can see my blends.
Yeah.
Without using any stippling for when doing fabric.
Ooh.
Like pants.
Grave Paints, thanks for that raid.
So welcome everybody. So here I'm still getting smooth transitions even with just faint line work, and my texture for the pants makes sense because clothing has a texture to it that's very if it's like cotton woven fabric, then you're technically going to get a very linear texture, but it's going to be very, very tight. So pulling that off is just a lot of small wispy lines using the point of your brush. So that's what I'm doing here. And you can see that, as I go and do it, I'm actually getting a pretty good blend of coloring going on, right? It's just a matter of like going and filtering a layer of blue over the top and then coming back and doing a highlight, then filtering, going a little bit brighter, filtering, going back brighter, filtering darker, and playing back and forth. And I can smooth this out to whatever while still keeping enough of the texture to make it feel like the material I want it to be. Remember, our goal as painters is to create the idea of light on material. That's all this really is that by putting light on these pants, I would need to see them as pants. So if they have a texture, put that texture. Stippling is its own texture, right? Because it creates dots. So it's great for flesh sometimes. You can imagine like the porosity of flesh being kind of a dot texture. And so it works great for flesh. It works great for things like wool fabric. It can work great for leather. Because again, leather is a skin. So it can do stuff that you wouldn't be able to do with line work.
Yeah.
But you can crosshatch, you can stipple, you can actually just glaze blend like Flame-On does, Magic, to where you just get tremendously smooth for metal.
Yeah.
And things like that. So there's a lot of textures you can do. They're all going to provide different things, right? Like my leather up here is totally different in its texture than the pants. I'm not painting them the same way, right? Drier brush, streakier paint gives a more beaten and worn jacket overcoat look to the leather than the smoothness of the pants. So being able to keep different textures, a little bit of a harsher line work and more contrast on the vest than on the pants, makes it feel like it's a different, heavier fabric on the vest than on the pants, maybe. Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So you're always kind of making those transitions. Whether or not people like stippling is just a subjective, personal thing.
Grave Paints, hey, thank you so much for that raid. Grave Paint says, y'all gave me some amazing feedback on my GW or Golden Demon entry back at Adepticon. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Hey, that's awesome.
Thank you for taking part. That was a lot of fun for everybody involved.
Congratulations.
The artists that were giving the feedback, the judges judging the competition. Everybody had a blast. So thank you for making it what it was by participating. That means the world to us. So thank you.
And if you thought this year was big,
just wait. Do we have some mind-blowing stuff coming in 2027?
Sleepyhead Paints, it was such a blast. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys were able to join. It was a fun time.
It really was. I just emailed all of the volunteer network that helped us out, showing some appreciation. We absolutely love that team. They were high energy the whole time, really made it inviting.
Yeah.
It was great. Absolutely great. Notice how I said earlier, wick. I wick a lot of the paint off on my thumb to make sure that I have the right amount of material to get into the area I'm about to paint. If I'm painting a big area, base coating, then I probably don't take as much off of the brush. But when getting into little tight areas where I've got more detail I need to keep in focus, then I'm going to take more of the paint off so that I can make sure to get small wispy brush strokes going, like when I'm edge highlighting and such.
Yeah, stay tuned for more information about next year's MAA Cup. We will have more information coming to you probably very soon. So keep an eye out for that.
Pant.
Pant?
I'm liking that.
You can
Pant this is what you're about to say. What he said.
you can put these pants on. Blah, blah, blah. Tech Elf. Have the judging for the base layer happened yet?
Yeah, the judging is done. The winners and runners-up and top finalists were all sent over to Matt from Base Layer over the weekend. Mally and myself and the judges got all of our stuff sorted out over the weekend, gave it to him, and then I only had a chance today to ask him if he got my email, so I don't know where he's at in the process, but I know he's announcing this week, and then we'll get a time to do some review of probably the finalists and stuff. So it was very unfortunate in the competition that not everybody followed the guidelines. It was different than the MAA on site, because on the digital one, we wanted it to be done for his challenge. The way he runs his challenges, like our Discord challenges, he wanted the model to be done specifically for the challenge.
Oh.
And you needed to provide a photo. Right. You needed to provide a photo of the beginning of the model like you do on our challenges on Discord. So
there were some people who didn't.
It had that added tweak. It worked both ways, because some people came to the MAA at Adepticon thinking that the model they entered had to be specifically for that, which was not the case live.
Oh, okay.
For our competition at Adepticon, totally different deal. And we would accept models that had been entered in before. We actually gave away an award at the show for most traveled, because this model had been, and you can see from the stickers on the back, it had been entered in like 7 competitions.
Oh, wow.
So we gave him an award for most traveled because they'd been all over the place. Yeah. It was actually a very good painted model too. But on the online one, it had to be for that competition. So unfortunately, there were a bunch of runners-up that didn't do that. And there were a bunch of people that couldn't be qualified for being finalists or runners-up even because they had entered in other competitions. That was just a base layer encapsulated ramification that we put on there. But it was great. Fantastic art in the base layer one, too. So we've got some really fun models coming out. Be a lot of fun. All right, so the pants are more indicative of where I'm going with my highlighting. So you can see that we have basically base coating on everything else. The pants, I just took the liberty today because we're not doing the pants the way we've done everything else. We just did that with the Prussian blue and white. So all that is Prussian blue and white on the palette mixed together to get that entire layup of blue. And then I don't really know that I intend to filter anything over that. I'll probably leave that the way it is. We'll probably play around with it as we do more of the area around it. But we'll be doing the same kind of method of going back and gaining more value and volume on everything else, because the hat and the jacket and the vest and all the other colors now look very flat when you look at the pants.
Yeah.
Right? So the pants now have better volume to them because there's more contrast. There's more contrast because of what we talked about earlier with the vibrancy. I go from a very higher bright color in the bright blue here, not to pure white, but kind of a sky blue, and then drop down into the Prussian blue in the shadows. And so we get better volumes, better highlighting, better contrast out of that, and we need to now replicate that on the entire model to bring it up to that quality. So what you've seen me doing here is laying out color and texture, and then we start building back onto that color and texture in various ways depending on how we painted it, all of the vibrancy on it. And we're painting this model in a lot of weird ways to show you how one step and expert acrylics can really up your game. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot of different techniques on different things. Not because I would normally paint that way, but because, again, as we show you how to use the paints and as questions come up in chat, we can just do it live. We can just show you, okay, using filters, do this. I can underpaint for sketching here. On the yellow, we did it in black and white underpainting for value sketch. On the other ones, we did a chromatic undersketch with actual colors that we wanted to show the filter through. So a lot of really good stuff that you'll be able to walk away from, hopefully, at the end. So
cool. This has been great.
Did we miss any other questions? Everything good?
Incredible work. This is so helpful. No, we're good.
Cool. Everybody, thank you for hanging out and watching some paint dry with us. As always, love it. Thanks for spending your valuable time with us here at Monument Hobbies. Remember, if you are new here, if you've wandered in through one of the raids today, thank you for hanging out with us. Make sure to hit
raids,
the
by the way.
follow, like, subscribe button. You know the drill. Do all the stuff so you get the alerts. We do this Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monument Standard Time. We're in Arizona, so we're always the same time. And right now we're on California time, or California's on our, I don't know how to say that.
MST,
MST.
baby.
Just remember Monument Standard Time.
Put it
MST.
in your phone.
And join us 2 to 4 p.m. if it says that's the time in Phoenix. I will be here tomorrow, and then I'm gone for the rest of the week. Jordan, Baby J, our very own lovely sales and in-house painter fellow, will be joining Chris on stream for the end of the week, showing you some of the one-step and a lot of really cool techniques painting on the new Starcraft models.
Yep,
so that's going to be a blast.
It's going to be fun.
I'm jealous because he gets to paint Zerg. So I think he's going to run out at using one-step and Jordan's speed. He better have a lot of models.
I told him, I'm like, right now he's got 4 big guys. I'm like, that's...
He's going to run out of models.
He might.
But it's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys will turn in for that. But I'll be back again tomorrow. We'll be painting on Willy here again. And then I'll send you off into your week with Chris and Jordan. But thanks for hanging out. Make sure to hit all the links Chris put up in chat. Join the Discord. Over 7,000 amazing artists just like yourselves. Great place for inspiration, hanging out, making friends, getting to talk directly to the Monument team. Love to have you over there. It's a fantastic place to hang out. Make sure to check out monumenthobbies.com and monumenthobbies.eu.
Yep.
We do have a warehouse and employees fielding questions and shipping out product over in Europe from our office in France. So either way, make sure to grab yourself some Pro Acryl or Pro Series brushes next time you've got an open slot in your hobby desk. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the amazing stuff we make. And it allows us to keep doing these awesome streams. So thank you for your support over the years. And then stick around, because Chris is going to find you somebody to raid. There are other awesome hobbyists out there giving you great content. We're going to take you to one right now, show some love in the channel we wind up in, and we'll catch you back here tomorrow. Adios, gang.
Bye.